Namo Amida Butsu. Karma. Verses in honor of Master Shinran Shonen by Gansen, John Welch. We are karmically controlled beings, helplessly blown back and forth by the winds of karma, utterly unable to break free from its hurricane-force power, and without Amida's other power at the hour of our death, when we take our final breath, we will inevitably go into the bardo, where we will be buffeted by even stronger karmic gales as we are forced to fly towards our next rebirth in samsara, experiencing an existence of further suffering and impermanence, perhaps even worse than the preceding life, which was full of great sorrow, sickness, struggle, and strife. How can we be free from this terrifying fate of future lives filled with fear, ignorance, greed, and hate? All the great sages and saints throughout all the ages proclaim with one voice the solution to this samsaric confusion, illusion, and delusion. Amida's primal vow and his supreme dharma will free all sentient beings from samsara and bring all suffering beings to nirvana. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, Amida Buddha. Homage to Amida Buddha. I take refuge in Amida Buddha. The above verses were inspired by the following passages from Reverend Josho Adrian Cirlea's excellent book, The Path of Acceptance, Commentary on Tannisho, pages 52 to 56. Commentary on the 13th chapter, Influence of Past Karma. The Master once asked, Yuienbo, do you accept all that I say? Yes, I do, I answered. Then will you not deviate from whatever I tell you? He repeated. I humbly affirmed this. Thereupon he said, now I want you to kill 1,000 people. If you do, you will definitely attain birth. I responded, though you instruct me thus, I'm afraid it is not in my power to kill even one person. Then why did you say that you would follow whatever I told you? He continued, by this you should realize that if we could always act as we wished, then when I told you to kill 1,000 people in order to attain birth, you should have immediately done so. But since you lack the karmic cause inducing you to kill even a single person, you do not kill. It is not that you do not kill because your heart is good. In the same way, a person may not wish to harm anyone and yet end up killing 100 or 1,000 people. The doctrine of karma is extremely important in Buddhism. Not only that it explains how things work in the world, why we are what we are, why we have this form or body, but it is also assures us of our free will. We are what we think, that is karma of thinking, and what we say, that is karma of speech, and what we do, that is karma of action or body. And we can always change this karma and thus create a more peaceful and pleasant way of life. Apparently, by saying that sentient beings cannot free themselves from birth and death by their own power, it seems that Jodo Shinshu misinterprets or does not totally accept the doctrine of karma. However, Jodo Shinshu accepts fully the teaching of karma, just that it sheds light on a very important aspect that many Buddhists usually tend to forget. Yes, generally speaking, we can change our karma and thus decide to act in such and such a way, influencing our own destiny. But do we really always act as we wish? Suppose a person who drinks a lot since childhood and has now 40 years of alcoholism. Can he give up alcohol just like that, by a simple act of will? Or someone who smokes since early childhood, can he really give up smoking overnight? We see from experience that many smokers, alcoholics, or drug abusers cannot give up their bad habits so easily. Some of them even ending their lives without being able to stop their harmful behavior. How much more is the influence of the past habitual karma? This habitual past karma is not what we did in an habitual manner in a single lifetime, but what we did and were concentrated on in many lifetimes. If it is hard to put an end to the habitual karma of smoking, which lasts only 20 or 30 years, how much harder or even impossible would it be to stop the various bad karmic tendencies of many lifetimes. So, Jodo Shinshu doesn't deny free will in changing karma, but it insists on the truth that this will be so much weakened by the habitual karma of past lives that it becomes almost impossible of really changing anything. When we have become accustomed for many aeons and long kalpas with living in ignorance, hate, greed, jealousy, attachments, how could we not be influenced by this habitual evil karma in this life? And how could we end all these perpetual miseries just by force of will? We all know that a long time of drug abuse leads to dependency, a state in which the personal will of change is extremely limited and one needs immediate help from a specialist. But we took the drugs of delusion for many lifetimes since the beginningless past. Jodo Shinshu teaching and method doesn't start by staring at the ideal. We all have Buddha nature, and we can all become Buddhas, or at least do pure deeds and gain merits. But from the state of mind in which we dwell in the present moment, entering the Jodo Shinshu path is like saying, "Hello, I am Josho Adrian, and I am an alcoholic." The Jodo Shinshu Buddhist doesn't say, "Hello, I am Josho and I have Buddha nature," but "Hello, my name is Josho and I am ignorant and full of blind passions, incapable to heal myself or attain nirvana." So first, in Jodo Shinshu, we recognize our own incapacities and then we accept the medicine, which is the primal vow of Amida Buddha. We recognize that we are so sick that we can no longer rely on ourselves. We agree to apply the only treatment that works in dependency cases like ourselves. Someone who says, "I can become a Buddha in this lifetime because my true nature is Buddhahood itself," is someone who fails to understand the influence of good and evil karma of past lives, and that every evil act done, even as slight as a particle on the tip of a strand of rabbit's fur or sheep's wool, has its cause in past karma, as Shinran said in the 13th chapter of Tannisho. In the same way, as someone who abused drugs for many years thinks that he can give up immediately his dependency, and after a few tries he ends up taking a superdose, also a person may not wish to harm anyone and yet end up killing 100 or 1,000 people. This is the heavy influence of karma from past lives, and this is exactly why we need Amida's salvation. This salvation, as promised in his primal vow, doesn't depend on our will, which is influenced by our good or bad karma from past lives, but it depends solely on Amida's power of curing our illnesses and transforming us into Buddhas. It is by the inconceivable working of the vow that we are saved. Because we are so sick with the illness of ignorance and blind passions cultivated for aeons, we cannot have a clear mind and right judgment. Being under the influence of our past karma, we continue to act and live in delusion until the end of our lives, no matter whether we are assured of birth in the Pure Land due to entrusting ourselves to Amida's power. We were in delusion before we received faith, and we are in delusion after it too. This is the normal state of mind of unenlightened beings. It is not that we are like this purposely. One person during Shinran's life wrongly asserted that since the vow was made to serve the person who had committed evil, one should purposely do evil as an act for attaining birth. The word purposely is very important here. We are what we do due to the influence of our past karma, our weak minds and will, and because we are unenlightened beings. We are not some free guys who can be everything they want to be, but they decide to do evil purposely in order to attain birth in the Pure Land. To think that someone presumes upon the vow means that he or she should be free to choose between good or evil, but decides to do evil in order to attain birth. Unenlightened beings simply cannot be something else than beings full of blind passions. They cannot choose between good or evil, and yet decide to be evil. Shinran said that we should not purposely take poison, that is, do bad deeds, because we have the antidote, that is, the primal vow of Amida. He said this in order to stop the wrong understanding that people should do evil in order to attain birth in the Pure Land. But, to repeat, people do evil acts because they are unenlightened beings under the influence of their past karma, and not because this is their decision out of free will, without any influence of past karma. Thus, it is stated in Tannisho, how could we commit evil acts without any karmic cause in ourselves? Even the evil we commit while presuming upon the vow occurs through the prompting of past karma. At first sight it appears that people who rely on Amida's primal vow presume upon the vow, but in fact they are not capable of abstaining from doing various wrong deeds even after they receive shinjin. And this is only because they remain all their lives under the influence of past karma. The primal vow is especially made for people like these, while to rid yourself of blind passions is to become a Buddha, and for one who is already a Buddha, Amida's vow that arose from the 5 kalpas of profound thought would be to no purpose. If we should entrust to Amida only after we completely rid ourselves of karmic evil and influence of the past karma, then it means we are already Buddhas, and no one can ever accuse us that we presume upon the vow. But to say that an unenlightened being is presuming upon the vow while he is still living in this world of samsara and under the influence of the blind tendencies of his past karma, when the vow was especially made for such beings like him, it is like saying that a person sick with a terminal disease should stop being sick, otherwise he doesn't deserve treatment. Namo Amida Butsu.